Hello, everybody. Yay, Christina's on. Hey, Christina.
Hey.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to this week's gathering for Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut. As you know, we gather each and every week for our dear Toki. We gather in faith, prayer, and education, and I'm so happy that you're joining us today. Type in your name and where you're watching from. Really appreciate that. I'm hearing myself echo just a tiny bit. I'm not sure if you guys are hearing that or not. I do want to check in with each and every person on the screen, but let's go ahead and get ourselves centered this morning, evening, afternoon, depending where you are. Let's go ahead and Reverend Tammy is going to give us our invocation today.
All right, let's just take a moment and ground ourselves with a moment of mindfulness and some affirmations. So just grounding into this moment, releasing everything that has been going on until this moment, and just focusing on the breath, bringing ourselves fully present in this moment, in this time, releasing all stress, anxiety, worry, any negativity. And in this moment right now, just focusing on being right here, right now. And in this present moment, in this moment, each moment being its own unit of eternity right now, I bring my attention to the part of the body that is life. And I call that life good and perfect. And inside of this wholeness, this perfection, I know that there is only light and goodness. And so for each person here, we're all connected by that light, by that goodness, by that good intention, releasing all negative thought forms and bringing in only the highest level of wisdom. I declare that there is a perfection, a divine plan, a perfect plan that is even now, right now, unfolding for the best for Toki and the best for everyone who has given up a piece of themselves that they could be wasting or doing something else to just bring ourselves here, caring about something of so much importance, that we are bringing ourselves into this collective wisdom, knowing that what needs to be said will be said, what needs to be heard will be heard, all that needs to be known is known in perfect timing, that every single person is blessed and is engaged in actions of loving kindness. And I just call on this energy of loving kindness, compassion, of kindness in action, and kindness in word and deed. I call on this moment right now to know that we know beyond all knowing exactly what is the perfect next step. That if there are any need for comments or action, that all of that is done in a perfect order. There is only goodness here. There is only goodness present. And as we know this best in ourselves, we know that we are surrounding Toki with this loving presence. She knows that she is not alone. She knows that she is loved by her family of two-leggeds, her family in the sea. And we know that all is well. And so we just bring this goodness right now, blessing every single person who is engaged in this act of love, knowing that all works together for good. And so I just have so much gratitude for that. I just experience the gratitude, the perfection of this love, and know that all that has been done for only goodness, only joy. And so in the experience of that joy right now, I end our affirmative prayer. I end our meditation knowing that the energy of this continues on. I call it perfect and good, and so much gratitude. And so I say, Ashe, Amen, and so it is. Namaste.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Reverend Tammy. Some fast and furious gathering of things right before the show, so I appreciate, and I always need just that centering. Let's check in real quick with everyone here. Deb, hello, Deb. Good to see you. Good to see you. Howard, how are you, Howard? What's going on where you are?
Doing fine. Nice sunny day, and we have reports of residents coming down. No IDs yet, but yesterday we had J's, K's, and some L's. Estimated about 61 resident orcas yesterday, and some of those, anyway, were reported today. Anyway, whales in the neighborhood, whales in the hood. So we're really happy about that. So ready for today's Toki TV.
Awesome. Thank you, Howard, for being here every single week. Alejandro, we've been doing some very quick check-ins with you, but I kind of want to just how are you? How are you doing?
Just I'm here today. We had heavy rain here in Fort Lauderdale, and I was almost going to Miami, but I think I took the decision of stay here at home, and I'm praying for Lolita. And at the same time, I keep encouraging everyone to keep sending her good vibes, good energy, because what you need at this moment. Please keep sending letters, emails in a good manner to the mayor, Levin Cava, and the commissioner, Reggie Regalado. Hopefully, Lolita will go back home, is what I feel into my heart.
Thank you, Alejandro, for your dedication and for going live throughout the week and sending those reminders, those posts that you submit just randomly throughout the week to remind people to keep praying for her. So that we know your heart is in it, and really, really appreciate you. Everybody just loves you, Alejandro, and for everything you're doing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Today, you'll see Christina Mully from PNW Protectors is with us again today. We're very happy to have you here, Christina. We're talking about the Lower Snake River dams, and we have commenting deadline tomorrow. So we want to spend some time talking about that today, as we all know, this affects so much, and particularly it ties into Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut and her family. So, Christina, for those who don't know PNW Protectors, you want to give a little synopsis of who you guys are, and then we'll go into your presentation?
Sure. Yeah. Pacific Northwest Protectors is a nonprofit, and they started about 4 or 5 years ago to just protect the southern resident orcas. When everyone found out like that there was no salmon and the dams were prohibiting the salmon from spawning, and we just organized a group. I mean, really, they did. I joined the group. Cy, Seymour, and Snow McCormick, actually. There's a few people involved, but they've just been hardcore, making films and documenting all of, like, the starfish. And if you go to the link, you'll see there's a place where you can fill out letters to all of the representatives, Inslee, Cantwell, and just all of them. And they make it really easy. You can just go there and just click on it, and then you can just like write your little note and send it away. They've been documenting actually, Sarah has been doing all the pictures and everything. So, I mean, there's a lot of people involved. It's not just them. And basically, just like a lot of people, just trying to save the SRWs from going extinct. So there's a lot of information on the website, and it will be in the links, and you can check that out. But mainly, we want to breach the dams because that's what really needs to be done in order for them to survive, as well as 137 other species that rely on salmon. So we just try to go around and educate people, basically, because what I find is that so many people are really actually just unaware of what's going on. When you tell them how low the salmon runs are, they're floored. They're just like, whoa, I had no idea that was even happening. So that's one thing that we like to do is just, share that information, because once people learn what what we have to lose, how dire it actually is, they're like wanting to help, once they learn, because they just didn't know before. I mean, basically that's the situation, is so many people don't have any idea. And then there's, also people who think that we need to keep the dams because it makes like so much power and this and that, which is not true. So education, I find it best just to talk to people. I mean, I'll do a lot. I go to the farmer's market, I go to other events and set up a stand. I have postcards and petitions to sign, and but really I just like to talk to people, because then they understand what's going on and they're ready to help. They're totally, most of them usually are willing to help, and even get more involved by having a postcard party, or just going, if you have time, like going out to different events and getting people involved. And even if you don't want to like have them like sign or whatever, just educating them, I think is just what is needed, basically. So that gives you a pretty good idea about what Pacific Northwest Protectors is all about. One of the things is explaining to people the watts, the megawatts, and how much the 4 lower river state dams actually produces, because that's an argument that I always, well, not always, but I often get. Well, we don't want to breach those dams because, well, we're going to lose our power, or there's going to be blackouts or something like that. And it's just not true. Actually, it's costing us so much more money to keep those dams going. And for some reason, we can't seem to get them breached, but I think it's because we forget that the government works for us and that we need to bombard them. We need massive calls. We need massive letters and massive emails, and because that's what's going to make the difference is the masses of people telling them we need to breach these dams because, first of all, it's costing the tax dollars, our tax dollars, and it's not even worth it at all because they make 933 on average megawatts per year. So that's really, really not very much, especially if you look at the Grand Coulee Dam, then that one makes 24,000 megawatts, and that's just an average per year. So if you can just briefly explain to people that basically these dams are killing all of these salmon, which in turn will kill, the orcas and all the other species that rely on the salmon, they think, well, hey, this is a good idea. We probably should breach these dams. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. I mean, there's a lot more involved. There's a lot of technical stuff involved. Some of it, I don't know all the technicalities, but I can definitely refer people to where they can find them out, or we can just ask Howard because he probably knows. But I do encourage people to talk to people, to write, to definitely fill out the comments that are due by tomorrow. But don't stop there because, we need to keep on going. We need to keep pressurizing. We have to pressure the government officials to get this done. And like I said, there's lots of ways to do that. I will put in the comments a couple of postcards that you can print out if you want to. If you don't want to do that, you can just write letters or calls or all of it. Also, I know Sue, she has given permission to use her art as a postcard there. I have a couple of them. I don't know where this one came from, but I use it all the time. And I also have, what you can say on the other side. So I know I'm forgetting stuff, but that gives you a pretty good idea of what we're all about and what we're doing.
And we really appreciate you coming to the show to talk to people about this. How important is this commenting period? Why is this commenting period so important when we can just, we'll still keep writing letters and sending emails, but why, for the people at home that may not know, why is this commenting period so important?
Well, I know for one reason that anyone can do it. You don't have to be a Washington State resident to fill in your comments about it. So that's huge because anyone from anywhere, all around the world can comment on it. And Howard, what is the other reason?
The time is now. Thank you, Christina. That was a great rally speech to get people to act, to sign up, and the time is now and tomorrow, actually, for to go to lsrdoptions.org. It gives several ways to make your comments. You can make them short and sweet, or long and detailed and referenced, or any form. You can send photos. You can do whatever you want, but please make your comments and speak up for the orcas and the salmon and the 137 species of reptiles, amphibians, birds, and mammals that all depend on those salmon, and entire wilderness areas. But to give a little context, this has been building up for years and years, really since the 90s. Well, if you really want to go back, it goes to before the dams were built, and the biologists, the state wildlife biologists for Washington, Oregon, Utah, and Montana, I believe, all said, don't build those dams. They will kill the salmon. So it was entirely predicted. And and it happened, that the salmon were depleted by the dams, and it became more and more obvious in the 1990s, and then those salmon were declared endangered. So there had to be an environmental impact statement that was done by the Army Corps of Engineers and Bonneville Power that sells the power in 2001. And it built up and built up, and it's just become so starkly clear because the facts are beyond doubt that those dams are killing salmon. It's built up and up and up, but throughout it all, the Washington delegation, basically the top political leaders in Washington, the governor and the senior senator, Patty Murray, have done nothing. They have just sat and said equivocal things about maybe, but they have been finally brought up into the spotlight, and they said last September they would issue a draft or a report in June that would say something. And what it said was not totally satisfactory. It did say that they agree that those dams are killing fish. And if we want to save those Chinook salmon, and we're not talking about any river, we're talking about half of the entire Columbia Basin production of salmon, especially the big Chinook, the king salmon that would climb thousands of feet up into the mountains of Idaho and up into Montana. So they were big salmon at one time. They're not anymore, but that's what the system is capable of growing. And they became, very endangered and increasingly so, to the point where Senator Murray and Governor Inslee were on the spot. Finally, enough political pressure. They know the truth, but they also know the political reality. And Christina, you were saying, why is there such a powerful defense of the dams? It's very well well financed and very thorough, very systematic to all of the port authorities, the power companies, chambers of commerce. They've all been unified all these years in favor of the dams. And why is that? And my only assumption is that there's about $1 billion a year poured into the region in basically congressional loans or congressional guaranteed loans. So they can go out on the market and Congress guarantees those loans. So they get all this money, and all they have to do is pay back the interest. And they're getting a lot of ratepayer money and everything. So there's a whole lot of money coming into the area to support the dams, and money talks. So facts are really clear. Oh, yeah.
Howard, I want to share a comment real quick because it goes to what you're saying. So Rita says here, I think the leaders have to be very courageous to take action against the money forces behind the dams. I think that each comment is a support for them to make the brave and correct decision. That's a really cool way to look at that. And so thank you for that comment very much. What do you think about that, Howard?
That's right. They need the backing. I think they know what is the actual moral and ecological truth about the whole question, but they need us to have their backs. They need that political support. They need to feel like we can counteract all of that support for the dams that is coming in, that is so organized and very fierce. I mean, it'll get people diselected. You can't run for office in Washington if you're in favor of breaching it. That has been the case all these years. So they've been afraid to touch that issue. They need us to say, we support you. We will vote for you. We will be behind you all the way if you'll help to free up the Snake River. And so, yeah, that's absolutely true.
Thanks. I didn't want to railroad with the, move your
Yeah,
direction there, but I just thought,
yeah,
wow, that's
no,
exactly what you're referring to, and that's a really cool way to look at that.
right,
You know, we all want to make a difference, and we all wonder if we make a difference, and why comment, and that is exactly why. That was perfect comment to put there.
absolutely.
Back to you, Howard. Sorry. Oh, and Christina, yeah.
Well,
I just wanted to add that it's also really important to be specific about it. You need to tell them you want the dams to be breached now in 2022. Now, like this
that's
sounds
right.
really important that you don't just say, "Oh, breach the dams," because you need
No,
to be really specific. So I just wanted to add that part. That's all. Thanks.
right. Because the Murray-Inslee report didn't talk about action. It didn't talk about doing anything about it. It just sort of outlined who are the stakeholders, the power production, the barging of grain, the irrigation, the main people who are benefiting from the dams right now. But it didn't draw that connection with orcas and with that salmon support entire ecosystems. And so that the river really needs to be freed to act like a river. So there are some, deficiencies, and so it that report really needs to be applauded, supported, thanked. We're grateful that they came out and issued that report, and it does say that the dams are killing the fish. So that really does help establish that as fact that we've known for decades. But it doesn't lead to any plan of action. So we need to ask them to do that. Um, did you have any place to start here, Annette, as far as where to go from here, or shall I
Um,
just ramble
well,
on?
I think going to your letter would be really good. But one thing that I know, there was a conversation on one of the posts on our page about, um, what's the best way to comment? Is it through the options, .org, or is it um, writing a specific letter? And you addressed that question when it came out on our page, and I just want to see if you would share that with people who are watching today. What do you feel is the best way to make your comment known? Is it both? Is it one or the other? What do you think, Howard?
You can do both. You can flood them. They can get it from many different directions. You can comment more than once. You can comment from anywhere. Yeah, just add to the tsunami of comments for breaching the dams as soon as possible. It's really kind of volume that is important, but it's also the message in it, because uh, we really do need to draw that connection between the Snake River salmon and the southern resident orchids. They're not the only beneficiaries, but they're the highest profile. They're what people care so much about, and they are in danger. And we need those salmon to help bring them back. We've known that for well, I personally, I'm kind of a latecomer to this whole issue, which was in 2016 when J28 died, and she was a young female born in 1993. I knew her. I saw her. I could recognize her from when she was born. She had that neat little nick in her dorsal fin, and she had just had a calf, and her baby was only 10 months old when she and her baby died in 2016. And this was the photo is Ken Balcom from the Center for Whale Research at our press conference to announce that she had died, and to pin the finger right on those Snake River dams. Of course, it's a much more complex issue. There are many other issues involved, but for educational purposes, the short answer is we have to free up the Snake River to restore those salmon runs. And that is what really generated my dedication to breaching those dams. And there are a lot of others. I mean, PNW protectors are big on it. There are just so many other groups and individuals that are working so hard on this. There's the Orca Salmon Alliance group of about 17 different environmental groups all over the Pacific Northwest, but some are national groups. And they sent in a letter that was a very scientifically accurate, highly referenced, and they focused on pointing out all of the facts, the scientific facts to prove that the southern resident orcas depend on those Snake River salmon. And that's your basic message, I think. You know, you can let them know, and just let them know that you are in support of them acting, not just, you know, studying. It's been studied, you know, to death, literally, over all these years. It's time to act, to set a date and say, we're going to start demolishing by the end of this year. I mean, that can be done. There's been so many studies showing how to do it, how to mitigate. To Christina's point about the power generation, she's right. It's really not that much power, and it's very seasonal. The power that is actually generated is really only during the spring thaw, the runoff, when the volume of water is high. That's when the power can be generated, and that's not when it's needed. It's needed in the middle of winter and in the middle of summer, and it's just not there when it's needed. So it's not that valuable. They talked about how solar and wind are variable. Well, so is that hydropower, but it also kills fish. So it's a bogus argument when you look at the facts. There are other ways to mitigate the other services. There's other ways to transport grain. There's other ways to farm, to irrigate, or to adapt to farm without that irrigation. So there are just, you know, many solutions, and you don't have to go into a whole lot of detail. There will be a lot of comments that will go into a lot of detail. Will answer all of those claims, so they'll have the facts in front of them. They have for a long time, but they just need to feel the political support right now to act, to be bold. Speaking of bold, I believe you have a pamphlet from the Bold
I
group.
do. I want to ask you real quick, Howard, because you said a couple of things before we go to the guide. Have we been this close before? Because I think people are, are still skeptical. Like, okay, this is great, and they're asking for comments, but does anybody really think that they're going to do anything?
Oh,
It seems to me that this is as far as it's. I mean,
oh, absolutely. Oh,
if you can
absolutely.
comment on that just a little bit.
Well, yeah, we were just, you know, like shouting in the woods for so many years, but so many others were. I mean, we weren't just, you know, the discoverers of this problem, but it just wasn't getting traction in any kind of political sense. I mean, it was close. Actually, when Obama was president, there was a moment there when there was a chance, but it still depended on the Washington delegation. And without our senator and governor to say, yes, do it, Congress won't touch it, or the executive branch. So, yeah, but a couple of years ago, Representative in Idaho Simpson, Mike Simpson, came out and said, we got to breach those dams. He just had a soft spot in his heart for salmon. And he figured out a vision. It wasn't really a bill or anything, but it was an idea for subsidizing everybody. I mean, spreading like $30 billion around the whole region, generating new industries, and making everybody happy, and breaching those dams. That was the heart of it. So that was huge. And then the governor of Oregon came out and said, we got to breach those dams. So that was, good support from the region, but still nothing from within Washington. So this is really huge because they're sort of the last pivot point when they turn and say we're going to, plan on breaching those dams. That frees up congressional committees and the White House executive order, the Council on Economic Quality, the agencies that oversee the Endangered Species Act. They can all kick right into gear as soon as our Washington delegation says, yes, let's do this. And I think that will just turn the tide and the momentum will be to breach all of a sudden. But
I
yeah,
love
it's,
how so many things are parallel with Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut to bring that back. Like
yeah,
everything's falling into place for her finally.
she
After
needs
years and
those
years and
fish.
years and
Yes,
years. And then
absolutely.
now everything is falling into place with this. I mean, things are happening. So I'm positive that this is better than it's been. And so I'm gonna stick with that and keep moving
Right.
forward because yeah, I mean we all have doubts on all of it, but things are lining up. I mean, things are just lining up. Before we go to the guide, Wendy said, and I just want to see if you want to touch on this a little bit, Howard, and it might be in what you're going to say in a while. So Wendy said and hi, Wendy, there's been a huge increase in TV ads against breaching the dams, lots of misinformation about loss of services and harm to the environment. You kind of touched on that already about, how much energy is actually produced, but is there anything else you want to say about that?
Well, that Wendy's right, and their saturation commercials, prime time, every station, and they seem so homespun and it's local, saying, "Oh, we need whatever services they're talking about," and so very convincing, and it just shows you the level of financial support for the dams. They can pour a huge amount of money into high production commercials and saturate the airwaves with them. And it shows that they see that the tide is turning and they're trying to turn it back. So, it's sort of a positive sign in that it indicates that we're really gaining traction here. But it also indicates that they have untold millions to pour into defending the dams. And they've been doing that, for decades, but they're really stepping up the pace right now.
Awesome. So Howard, do you want me to go to a bold guide first before your letter?
Yeah, sure. I think the
Okay.
bold guide is good.
Okay.
You can get that
I'm gonna
right. It's on our Orca Network Facebook page, not the Toki page, but our main Orca Network page. Yeah.
okay. And I'll pull it up and then Deb, just so you know, when I do this, I lose sight of what you guys are doing. So if you could manage people's mute and unmute, Christina, if you want to comment as well when we go to this. But I'm gonna add it to the stream. I'll hear you guys, so just tell me what to do next, but I won't see you. So here we go.
Okay. So this is a guide put together by a group that represents several different organizations that are all very savvy, very educated, and knowledgeable about the Snake River dams. And it mainly is meant not to explain all the issues and all the background, but to show how to comment and what to comment. And they emphasize they have a sample letter. I think it's a 16-page guide and highly illustrated how to comment on the lower Snake River dams. And there is a draft letter, but they emphasize use your own words, that it has to make it a personal statement and it doesn't have to be huge and long. Yeah, thanks. If you can just kind of go through the pages of it and give a sense of how it's laid out beautifully, gives so many nice illustrations and points to make and who the bold team are, um, and basically their motto is be bold, do it, get this job done. And this is a map of the wilderness area in Idaho. And it's amazing, but it is pristine wilderness, roadless wilderness area where the Snake River and all of its tributaries, the Clearwater, the Salmon, there's so many other rivers and all of their tributaries that cover this over 5,000 square miles of wilderness area that is pristine, perfect spawning area. And this map, what this shows, you could fit the entire Salish Sea into it. It's huge. It's a vast area of wilderness, and it is blocked, like corked up by these 4 Snake River dams right now. So this is the illustration of that. And I also want to just make a point about how the dams kill the salmon. They do have fish ladders. In fact, they've invested over $17 billion, probably over 20 years, to try to build hardware, all kinds of little sluice runs, ways for the fish to escape the dam so that they don't get killed by them, and so they can get upstream. But what is just inevitable is that the dams create reservoirs. And in fact, that whole 140 miles of the Snake River between the Columbia and the upper dam, or the reservoir of the upper dam, are basically slack water. They're reservoirs. They're dead water. They're stagnant. They get huge amounts of methane. That's another untold story, is that they do emit huge amounts of greenhouse gas. They're not like clean energy like is told in those ads. But when those smolts, they spend about a year or so up in the mountains in those spawning streams, in the gravel beds where the salmon spawn, and then they die and the little smolts grow, and so they stay there and they nurture and they get stronger and stronger. And then after about a year, they float downstream to the ocean. And so while they're floating, and they're actually oriented back, they're headed back upstream. So they're just floating, and they are, by evolution, about 2 weeks from the ocean. And then they go through this huge, metabolic change to be able to live in seawater. And they hit those slack dams. And it's like a stoplight that never goes green. It just stops them. And that makes them, throws off their timing completely, so that they're not right when they get, it takes so long to get down to the ocean. But it also puts them in that stagnant water that is full of predators that know that there's going to be a whole lot of confused little smolts in there, pike minnow and other fish that are thriving because there's so many smolts in there. So they're just decimated. They're wiped out in the reservoirs. And then those that do get over the dams are often very damaged from the turbines or from the turbulence. They're sucked into these spillways, and then they get the gases. It's this foamy water that they're in for a long time, and that also has very detrimental effects. And even if they do make it to the ocean, they're often so weakened by all this, all the harm done to them from the reservoirs and the dams themselves, that they don't make it out in the ocean. There are 4 other dams on the Columbia that they have to go over. So, they do a certain amount of damage too, but it's those 4 Snake River dams that make it to the point that they are not able to reproduce in the ratio needed. There's something called a smolt to adult ratio of how many adults get back compared to how many smolts go downstream. And it needs to be above about 2.5 or 3% at a bare minimum, need to make it back upstream in order just to replenish the population generation after generation. And it doesn't allow that. The percentage is less than 1%. make it back up to spawn again. And that means the incremental extinction of the species. They will not continue to survive if they face those kind of odds against them. So, okay, well, thank you. That's the bold report, and that's how to comment. You can go straight to lsrdoptions.org. You can access that bold report on the Orca Network Facebook page and half a dozen other groups that are featuring it on their page. So there's many ways to do it. You don't have to be an expert. There are plenty of those that are chiming in, so there's lots of science offered. So yeah, please comment, everybody.
Thank you. Christina, did you want to say anything else about that? Some people are commenting, starting off saying my name is, and I'm a resident of, making it personal. Do you have any other suggestions for an impactful statement?
No, I mean, just the fact that we need it to be done because we need to save all, because the salmon is a keystone species. Sometimes I don't know if it helps if you throw in those words or not. For the comments, I think just like Howard said, anything, you don't have to, it doesn't have to be elaborate, just please. But I think one of the main things is being specific. I've always, really told people really be specific about that, because I know it's a numbers game, with however many we get and what they say. And if it's vague, then it doesn't really count, because it has to be really specific. I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can talk about. I mean, the way they transport, the fish. I think it turns out to be like $9,000 a fish or something crazy like that. I mean, and then they're shipping the wheat. They're shipping the wheat, and then they're trucking the salmon. I mean, I guess that doesn't really have anything. You don't want to put all of that stuff in the comments. I'm sorry. It's just, to me, it's just so absurd that, and also there's over 1,000 dams in Washington alone. We're just asking them to breach 4, I mean, and they hardly make any power. So, yeah, I think that just as many people that you can get to comment, like Howard said, you can comment more than once, from anywhere. So I just think that we really need to comment and get your friends to comment, and your brother, sister, and everyone. Yeah.
Thank you. And I encourage everyone who's watching to send to 15 people, send 15 people the link, LSRD options, Lower Snake River Dam options.org, lsrdoptions.org. Send that to 15, 20 people and ask them to send that to 15, 20 people. I mean, commenting ends tomorrow at 5. Am I correct on the time?
I don't know.
Peggy posted it just a second ago. I'm going to scroll through and see if I can find it. 5 p.m. Pacific time tomorrow, July 11th. So if you send to 20 and 10 of those send to 20 and 5 of those send to, I mean, really, guys, everybody who's watching, please, please, please send that out to your contacts. Let them know why it's important to you. If they're not aware of, all the background, tell them why it's important to you, because your friends will do what is important to you, especially if it's just forwarding a link and making a comment. So I think we just get as many people as possible to get those in there. Howard, do you want to share any bits from your letter? Do you want to read that, or just kind of share an overview? How do you want to?
Well, if you want to put it up, I don't want to read the whole thing. We've only got about 10 more minutes, but just to sort of give you a sense of at least my thoughts, and from Orca Network. So basically, I'm saying the draft report sets out the options, but it doesn't outline any action, and it's time to, get off the dime and say something. And there are ways, to replace the energy, the irrigation, and transportation. Those are the main issues. And it was written up in the the endangered species listing language back in the late 90s, when the southern residents were clearly going extinct because of a lack of salmon. And they spelled it out there on the state and the federal level. They said that this perhaps the single greatest change in food availability for killer whales since the late 1800s has been the decline of salmon in the Columbia River. There's a long history of desecrating and decimating the salmon, their habitat. There have been massive overcatches. Every other kind of harm to them has been done in complete disregard of their role in the natural world. So a lot of those are finally being addressed. But yeah, I mean, this was sort of every relevant fact that I could put into 2 pages. But there are more. But these are what I thought was important. The runs just continue to diminish despite all the money that's been poured into mitigation measures. And the dams are not saving money, they're spending money. There's a huge increase in renewables, in solar and wind, and in conservation, and those are just getting online and getting able to be available to everybody. And there's storage being developed, power storage, and that power has been covered. It's actually surplus. It's not even called on by the BPA much at all. I mean, a couple of times a year for short periods, and those are optional. So there really isn't any need. There won't be any brownouts. There won't be any need to build any new power plants or anything else to replace them. They're surplus. So all of those arguments are really bogus. They're just not true. And salmon are at stake. The salmon are the lifeblood. They're the food. They're the support. They're the keystone species for the entire ecosystem. The ocean nutrients, the nitrogen in particular, scientifically, from the ocean that the salmon, eat, gather into their bodies over the 3 or 4 years that they're at sea, is found in the trees at a 5,000-foot elevation, because those salmon carry the ocean nutrients that support not just the animals, but the vegetation, the trees in the wilderness areas. So they're just absolutely necessary for a living planet, and we have got to let them run. Got to free the snake.
I love your last sentence. I'm going to put that back up because, like you said, it's a call to action. You're making a request here. You're not just commenting. And this is a beautiful way to do that. Very specific, beautiful way to do that. We urge you to act quickly to avoid salmon extinction and deliver an actionable plan by the end of 2022. Thank you,
Right.
Howard. That's perfect. And so when you're writing your letters and you're talking to your friends, as Christina says, one of the most powerful ways to get people into action. Make sure you're making that very strong request, very specific request. Howard, we're just the salmon and the orcas and all of us are just blessed to have you because you just thank you for everything that you do. You're just so good with all this. And Christina, everything that you and Pacific Northwest Protectors are up to, just it's important work. It's spiritual work. And yeah, so thank you very much. I do have some good news that I want to share with you guys. But Christina, real quick, do you want to talk just a tiny bit about the YouTube videos that you suggested for some folks to watch? I put that in here in a comment.
Sure. Yeah, I think that they're both really educational. Actually, the one understanding the power with Jim, I was on a march with him a couple years ago. We did the March for the Dams, and he actually used to work for the Army Corps engineer, and he explains everything. He explains it all. It's a really powerful video. And if you really want to know, like, you know, like the hardcore technical, they have graphs from Bonneville and everything. It's very informative, very, very good piece of information. Maybe you just want to look at it for a second or watch it when you're getting ready to write your comments or whatever, right? And so the other one is Dams Nation, and that one is put off by Patagonia, and it's actually excellent. You will never look at a dam the same way again. I watched it a long time ago. It was actually put out in 2014, but basically it's everything's the same pretty much. They talk about all the over 75,000 dams that we have in the United States, which is like mind blowing to me. They talk about just everything, and they go into the successful breaches that have happened and what's going on with that. They talk about the hatcheries and how that really isn't a solution. They talk about how, you know, wild fish are so important, and we need to keep that. So both of those are excellent just pieces of information, especially if you're a little lost and you don't know, you know, what to say or whatever. And it's just really a good historical piece of information as well. So I recommend it to anyone who wanted to know anything else about dams in general. I mean, we have over 1,000 in Washington. I know that. So you have to wonder. I mean, and plus the cost is going up. The hydro cost is going up. Solar and wind is going down. Battery, you know, it's really a thing of the past. And we're not asking them to like breach all the dams. Obviously, that would be crazy. But we're just asking for 4. I don't know. Sorry. I just always like to reiterate that it's like there's a lot of dams, and these ones will save, you know, a lot of things, including us. I mean, you know, what we do, it just all goes together, and we can't give up. Just like we can't give up with Toki, we can't give up on this. But to keep going until we accomplish what we need to accomplish, and it's for everyone. We're all connected. So that's it. Thanks.
Thank you. A lot of comments coming in. Peggy's posting some very valuable information as well. A lot of comments. People are answering people's questions on there. So just scroll through the chat. There are correct answers popping up. So thank you. And one other way to do that is there's this really cool show called Toki TV. You could share this actual segment with folks when you're sending the options. Someone's asking like, hey, how do I find it? It is saved. So give it a couple of minutes after the live ends. You can go back to our Orca Network Lolita Tokitai page and get the link there, or on YouTube. So if you do not have Facebook, if you're watching from YouTube and you don't know how to share, send me a message. I will get you the direct link to the YouTube page, or to the direct link to this broadcast, so that when you are asking people to share this information, I'll go through after. I can't do it while I'm on, but I'll go through after and add a comment with the link, and so that you can share that YouTube link with people, so that people can watch this one episode and know why we're doing this, and also know that the deadline is tomorrow. Again, the deadline is tomorrow at 5 p.m. So get those emails or texts or whatever, get them out before today. Like as soon as we get off of this, I think everyone should send these emails. Tim posted here, the Centers for Whale Research just confirmed a new baby in K-Pod. And so I looked that up, and I just want to read a couple things from the Orca Behavior Institute. It says, with K-Pod's return to the Salish Sea yesterday, along with Jays and Owls, the Center for Whale Research was able to get their first official sighting of, there's the baby, first official sighting of the new K-Pod calf. This little one, whose sex is still unknown, has been designated K45 and was traveling next to K20, otherwise known as Spock. Yesterday evening off the west side of San Juan Island, we were, of course, hoping for a glimpse of this little one. After 9:30 p.m., I spotted a tiny fin approaching, and just before it was completely too dark to see, we got a look at K45. And thanking the super zoom on their camera. We will have a video clip from this encounter to share soon as well. Per the center, K45's size and shape, in quotes, are typical of a calf in good physical condition. K45 is the first calf born to K-Pod since 2011, when K27 gave birth to K44, who is a male. 2011. You can read the official press release from the Center for Whale Research. Go to www.whaleresearch.com /K45. That is super cool news. Very, very happy. Howard, do you want to say anything about that?
Oh, just fantastic. It's so great to have that news. We were hoping that there would be that kind of confirmation from this. This was the first appearance of K-Pod in the inland waters in the Salish Sea for many, many months. And so it was our first opportunity. We'd heard from some and seen videos from a couple of months ago off Oregon that were not confirmed or verified, but now from the Center for Whale Research, we have the confirmation. So yay. I'm just happy.
Awesome. We are just 2 minutes past our show. I want to thank you again, Christina, for coming on with us. You're always welcome to be with us. Just if you want to just come hang out, just let me know. Deb, the show wouldn't work without Deb. So Deb, thank you for being here to hold my hand every single week as well. Howard, just your knowledge, Professor Garrett, always happy to hear from you. And Alejandro, any final words, Alejandro? Oh, let's try that again. You're on mute.
It's a fantastic news. We have a new baby. Lolita's family is growing up, you know?
Yes.
So now let's celebrate in September, my birthday. We have a good news, Lolita going home.
Thank you.
If we can start bringing the dams down, start bringing Toki home.
All together. We're going to reach the Snake River Dams, Lolita going home, everything this year is her year. 2022.
Yep. I agree with you.
Yes.
When they say the ancestors are paving the way, I think
Yes.
that is very, very true. And everything
Right.
is lining up, you guys. Everything is lining up. So again, our mantra is stay positive, don't give up. We will bring her home. Howard, real quick, do you want to just give a quick intro to the video that I'm going to play to close this out?
Yeah, sure. This is a musical video. It's a great music and with a very powerful message. And it's some friends who I've known from a long time, and they are very up to speed on the entire Snake River Dam issue. So let's play some music.
All right, everybody, thank you. We'll see you next week. Thank you for being with us. We're going to close it out with this video here.
My dear Seven, where are you? You are nowhere to be found. We've made it so you can't get through. Take those damn dams down, take them down. Take them down, 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 take them down. All the treasures that we've lost, just to benefit a few. was never worth the cost. Take those damn dams down, take 'em down. Take 'em down, 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 take 'em down. We hear our politicians say this is the only way, but we're the ones who pay. And deep in our hearts we know what's true. Change comes from me and you. Together we will see this through. Come on, people, raise your voice. We need everyone to say, time is now, we had no choice. Take those damn dams down, take 'em down. Take 'em down, 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 take 'em down. Take those damn dams down, take 'em down. Take 'em down, 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 take 'em down.